We'll be joined by moderator Nick Pujji, who is the partner at Denton's. Please come on up. And he'll be joined on stage by Tony Greco, founder of Greco Fitness, Simone De La Rue, founder of Body by Simone and author of 8-Week Total Body Transformation, Kimberly Fowler, founder of Yaz Fitness Centers, and David West, managing partner of Integrity Real Estate Partners, as well as Matthew Allison, founder and CEO of Space Cycle. So thank you all for being here, and let's get started.
Thank you very much. Is this on? Yep. There we go. All right. So Nick Pujji again, if you missed that. I got married 4 months ago. Thanks very much. And I'm still married, which in LA, after 4 months, that's an old marriage. My wife is the founder of ClassPass. So she is smarter than me, she's prettier than me, she's better, Did I say smarter? So that's part of it. But during my wedding, the reason I'm sharing this is because I gave a speech. I was the groom, I gave a speech, and so I had a couple of good zingers that I practiced. And Megan Asha, who some of you know, is heavily involved with FounderMade. She's like, you're moderating the next panel at FounderMade. So we'll see how I do today because that was an easy crowd. They had to laugh at me because it was my wedding. So we'll see how this goes here. So very happy to be here and happy to be in great company on the stage today. I wanted to give everybody a couple minutes just to walk through and explain briefly their introduction. I don't know if you guys can tell, but we have this big fat red clock up here clicking us down. So if you could each do a couple minutes to kind of explain who you are and generally speaking, and we'll flush out some more interesting parts of it. But I just want the audience to get a flavor of who's sort of up here today. We'll start with Tony.
How's everybody doing? First of all, I met one Canadian. I'm Canadian, by the way. My name is Tony Greco, and I'm the founder of Greco Fitness, which is in Canada. We have 16 locations, and we work with a lot of athletes. We have a few celebrity clients. And what I do is I transform bodies, lift spirits, strengthen minds. So I train people and on a regular basis. We have a specialized circuit. My background was martial arts. I evolved into fitness about, it's been now 22 years. So it's been very, very successful. We want to bring the brand, obviously, throughout North America and definitely bring it to Los Angeles. It's amazing here. And that's it. That's it so far.
And Tony, a lot of us are considering moving to Canada after the election that's coming up. So if anyone wants to chat with Tony about that also, he's available for that.
Yeah.
Next, Simone, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah, I've got a soft voice. I'm Australian. Well, I was born in England, but grew up in Australia. Oh, hello. Hello. How about now? Yes. I was born in England, grew up in Australia, and I've been living in the States for 10 years. I fell into the fitness industry actually by accident. I was a professional dancer for 18 years. I was supposed to do another show on Broadway, and a week before we were supposed to start, I got a call from the director saying, oh, the producer has pulled out, you don't have a job. Oh, goody. So I thought I had to find something else to do. So as a dancer, the natural path of least resistance is to go into fitness. And I started in a gym of a client in a basement in New York with 5 clients. And then I went to an apartment on 76th Street in Columbus. It was a studio apartment. And I had 5 clients coming up and down the elevator of a normal residential building. A couple of them were celebrities. So I think the residents were like, what on earth is going on level 6? And then eventually I opened my own studio in New York in West Chelsea. I've had that for 5 years. I have a studio in West Hollywood, which I've had for 2 years, and I recently opened a studio in Brentwood. I wrote a book called Body by Simone, the 8-Week Total Body Transformation. I've got 3 DVDs, an online streaming service, and I'm about to launch a shoe line with Newton shoes. So 5 years, here I am today, and can't wait to share the rest of my story with you later.
Thanks very much. And next we have Kimberly.
My name is Kimberly Fowler, and I'm the owner of Yaz Fitness Centers. Yaz stands for Yoga and Spinning. I mean, it's interesting. The spinning started 25 years ago. I think everybody thinks it's just started, but it actually started 25 years ago. I opened my first location in 2001, so I've been in business for 15 years. I opened originally on Abbot Kinney. When Abbot Kinney, if you're from LA, it's this cool trendy street, but back then it was total gang area. Everybody thought I was insane for opening there. I have 5 locations and just signed a lease for my 6th location this morning. So yeah,
Excellent.
that's pretty exciting. I was a lawyer for 18 years, and then I was a COO of a $200 million vitamin company, and I actually had a really bad climbing accident and was like totally out for about 6 months and trying to figure out, okay, now what do you want to do with your life? And I was frustrated by, I was going from a yoga studio to the gym to spin, and I just went, why don't I do that? I just put this together, and that's sort of how it all started.
And I've taken Kimberly's class, actually. It was a couple years ago, and I first started dating my wife, and she said, one day ClassPass is going to be in LA. Let's go check out some studios here. So I said, okay, great. And she said, okay, we're going to go yoga. And so I'm trying to impress my girlfriend at the time, and Kimberly took pity on me, and I remember you were very patient during the class. As she mentioned, she's also a lawyer who is no longer practicing as a lawyer, so clearly she is also a smart woman in the world, and much smarter than I am.
Hey everybody, it's David West. I'm the founder of Integrity Real Estate Partners, commercial real estate brokerage firm that specializes in the halo space, so really encompasses all things health, wellness, fitness. And my journey began through an introduction to Amanda Freeman, who is the principal of SLT, which is a boutique fitness concept based around the Megaformer, born out here actually in LA. And Amanda had came to me and had asked me if I can help her find a second studio in Soho. And this was a time when there wasn't a boutique fitness studio on every corner, and there wasn't a gazillion spin brands and everything else. And I was a general office leasing broker, and I was like, sure, happy to help you. I looked at it like a deal. So then the journey begins, and I start to understand the uniqueness and the complexities of the boutique studio. And I soon learned there's zoning issues, and there's a tremendous amount of sound issues. And I sat with zoning architects and audio consultants and all the other third-party service providers to understand the nuances of these transactions. And I finalized Amanda's deal at 132 Crosby Street. Anna Kaiser came calling, Alexandra Bonetti Perez from Bari. Now it's a pleasure to be working with Simone, and here I am today on a panel of just fantastic people, and thank you guys for coming as well. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to help.
Excellent. And last but not least, Matthew on the end.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I operate Space Concepts Limited. I run the top yoga studios in Taiwan, and we've trained over 1,000 yoga teachers in Taiwan, many of whom live in China. And I've been doing that for over 10 years. I've lived in Asia for about 25 years, and now we're involved heavily in investing in studios in China. And we've opened studios now in Beijing, and we're opening in Shanghai in a few months. We're rolling out 3 studios in a period of 8 months. We've just had a whole group of people over including Simone, over to Beijing to open our studios there. And my background really prior to doing the yoga and operating yoga studios, and what I really tried to set out to do, I've spent most of my career in Asia and speak Mandarin and have lived and worked in 5 different countries there. And I've really tried to be a bridge in terms of what's happening in other parts of the world and build things that I'm passionate about. I've kind of followed that model ever since I was in college. And so what I've tried to do, besides yoga, and really we try to bring the top yoga teachers from around the world. Every month we have an event, and we do trainings and immersions and workshops, and we're creating an online platform. And so now what I've tried to do is, my background prior to that was in the music industry. So I founded Sony Music in Taiwan and in China. And then I ran Sony Music for Greater China, and then I ran EMI for the Asia Pacific region. So I looked after about 18 countries and 40-something companies and several thousand employees. And then what I really started to do, and also with Pete Moore's help, is I started to look at the boutique fitness space here, and I started doing all these different classes, and what resonated with me was how much I felt about the integration of teaching and music. And then I started thinking about fitness models more from the perspective of the music industry. And so we started, managing teachers, and I started looking at building studios that would redefine the fitness space around a social model. So I really look at my competition in Asia as karaoke. And I want to take karaoke and flip that on its head and create that as a wellness space where people derive the same kind of social pleasure, but with a different level of teaching. And so we're creating, we have a music division and a music curation department. We work with the top music streaming services in Taiwan and China. So we work with KKBOX and QQ Music, which is owned by Tencent, which has 300 million people a month that see it. We work with Universal Music. So we work with Universal Music and Sony, and so we're trying to create a very different kind of culture around fitness, and one that people are motivated and moved by music to take care of themselves in a different way. So and I'm excited to be here and share what I'm doing with you.
Excellent. Well, good. So we are, if you're looking at your program today, we're here talking about fitness studios, real estate, and space. And obviously my first question is, how do I get rid of the space on my lower abdominal that's being taken up right now? Because I've been married 4 months, and it's very hard to control my appetite at this point. Well, we can talk about it afterwards, that's fine. Let me, Simone mentioned this a little bit in her introduction, but I wanted to get a flavor. I want to understand, so when you first opened up your very first studio, sort of what the key things you were thinking about were. And then with the mindset that I'm gonna ask a follow-up question in terms of as you expanded and as you scaled, other things that you thought about in terms of space. So let's start with the very first studio. I want to have Tony and Kimberly start with this one, and then if anyone else has comments, just jump in. We'll keep it very informal.
Well, with my first studio, space is very, very important because obviously you're trying to maximize the space and generate as many revenues. So, and also you don't want to dilute the product as well. So one of my biggest things is to find an area where you can have a separate personal training studio, because people pay high premiums for that and they want to be able to achieve the results and definitely pay for the quality of training. The other one was more of a class environment. So the space that I was looking for ranged anywhere from 3,500 square feet to about 3,000. And in the really cool, unique thing that we have is in our lobby, we wanted to provide a space where people can kind of hang out. Because as you know, going to working out, for some people it's a religion. For some people you have to get them to the studio. They need a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration. So our whole message was that, when you go to a workout place, it's about how you feel, not how you look. And part of that is that when you surround yourself with that boutique style and people that are around you for the same reason, where you're not just a number. Like you come in and people go, oh, how you doing, Susan? How you doing, Simone? It's more of that family, community-based kind of welcoming. And we actually welcome all our members with a coffee. I love espresso, and that's something that I make sure that we have an espresso machine, and I actually have the front desk girls put the espresso together, obviously for people that like coffee. For people that don't like coffee, that try it, actually get addicted to it. So it's kind of cool because they hang around the juice bar, and then they go into class, and there's a lot of great benefits behind caffeine, but we're not going to get there because we'll be here till midnight. So it's kind of a cool, hip, posh way to go, wow, you know what, my self-image, I don't really feel that well, but now I'm having a conversation before my class with one of my classmates, someone that just started on personal training. So it brings everybody together. And then the front desk person also make sure that they're bringing themselves together, because they're the ones making the coffee, and it's almost like a conversation piece. I think we've all been to a coffee shop and we kind of have our meetings there now. For some people, that becomes their office. So it was cool because when people go to the workout place, they're like, this is amazing. I get my workout, but I could actually even hang out and, pick people's brains and network and do that kind of stuff. So it becomes a way of life. It's not like it's a big thing to go to the gym. So that's why when I chose my space, I just wanted to maximize as much square foot as possible and really connect everybody together, including the personal training room as well.
But you're clearly taking away excuses from the people who work out with you also, right? When you say, oh, I'm tired, and I just gave you coffee, right?
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about it, is because, as you know, I mean, like I said, some people, I call them the ABCs. You have that A client that, they wake up in the morning, that's the first thing they do. They have to go and work out. That's what we live and breathe. But not everybody can do that. There's obstacles that get in the way. So if you could just entice people and motivate them and inspire them a little bit more, where it's not so much of a workout, and let them see a little bit of the results, then eventually people kind of get addicted to that and they go, wow. Because I don't really teach fitness. I just basically transform bodies, live spirits, strength, and minds. I think fitness is what we all do on this panel and what everybody does. I think everybody knows what a squat, a lunge, and a bicep curl is. That's pretty easy. But it's what we do at the small boutique that counts. And I think getting into people's mind to making them believe that they've achieved something, they could persevere. And I can share some of the success stories, because it's always the same ones. Their first line when they write their success stories is, I lost 5 pounds, I lost 10 pounds, I lost 20 pounds. Okay, that's one little sentence. But then it's like, you know what, I have way more energy to run up the stairs with my kids right now. Thanks so much for changing my life. My boss at work really helps me. I have so much energy now. I just got a promotion. My friends love me now. It's unbelievable. And I can go on and on and on. And that's what's so inspiring. That's what I'm addicted to. I love that high of seeing the results for people, sharing that, what they have in them. And I think everybody has that. And I think boutique training, because it's so specific and it's so catered to the individuals on a one-on-one basis, is the way of the future. I just don't want to be a number. I want to make sure that if I'm going to be paying some money and going to a gym, I want to be recognized. I want to be motivated if that's what I need. I want to be inspired. And I want results and feel good. So I just love that angle of fitness on what it does for people, is really makes them believe in themselves so much that I actually talk about it right now. And I love that.
Excellent. Let's. Kimberly's next. Yeah.
Yeah. And what?
Let's start. So go back to the question a little bit.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Let's start. I just want to know what was going through your mind when you were saying, okay, Studio One. What kind of space do I need to create?
Well, I was looking for a garage door. I wanted, a cool, hip space with a garage door so I could spin with the garage door open. I was living in Santa Monica at the time, and I was looking for a location there. Santa Monica is a nightmare to get permitting. It's almost impossible. And a friend of mine who actually lived in Monaco had said, well, why don't you check out Venice? I'm like, Venice? Venice is gang area. And I just got frustrated one day, and I drove down, to Venice on Abbot Kinney, and there was this dilapidated building that had a garage door, old warehouse, windows were broken in, and I went, that's it. It's like, it really was. It was like, oh, that's the space. I saw the vision. And it was interesting because Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction was my landlord. Do anybody know who he is? Oh my God. This guy walks in, leather, black, he's like hot. And so with me, it was sort of easy. He just said, do whatever you want. And with permitting, because it was such an area, it was again, like they were like, she's never gonna make it, so whatever. Right now, you would never be able to have a gym, it's difficult. So what I was thinking, I actually had that vision, and I try to keep that, but it's really hard. The only place the only location I have that I can still spin with the garage door open is in Portland. But all the rest of them, I have garage doors.
I've
but you
noticed
can't-
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I go to the downtown one, and
Oh,
so we
you
see
do?
that
Yeah.
there's a garage door that flips open.
Yeah, that you can still keep the door.
It's a great vibe because you'll be walking on the street and you'll hear like blasting music, and you know like where the heck's that coming from? Is there a bar? And you look over there, and there's a bunch of people like sweating and spinning really hard. So you always think you want to go get some of that. Let's, David, I want to hear from you a little bit because you take a different perspective.
Yeah, this is, again, you have these passionate fitness professionals who are clearly top level at what they do, and they have this vision of what they'd like. But again, back to the nuances and complexities, when you look at a space, you really need to understand like what's inside that space. Architects, contractors, engineers, what is the zoning of that space to start? So they have this, I want a space yesterday, and you have to find out, is the capital source there? What does it look like? What does your reserve fund look like? And I love working with these people. I love seeing the vision come to life. I love longevity. I'm from New York City. We have studios all over the place. We have 10 different spin brands and a million different hit classes. Unfortunately, a lot of them won't be around when the world turns. But again, I love seeing a space and being able to create a vision and looking at, like, I understand zoning, I understand column spacing, ceiling height, sound, the most critical issue to the professional. You sign a lease, you think you soundproof to a certain level, you didn't hire an audio consultant to do a sound study, or you may not have decibel level representation in your lease, and now 6 or 8 months later, you have to retrofit your space, and that could be $100,000 to X amount of dollars. Your whole entire P&L just changed. So I guess we'll go into the question later on about where is the future going, and as it's becoming more sophisticated with private equity, but whoever's thinking about doing something, whether it's fitness or a wellness center or anything Halo related, that make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and work with people who will help you successfully execute that strategy, and then the sky's the limit.
Excellent. Yes, let's talk a little bit about that. So I picked on Tony and Kimberly to talk about sort of their starting point of what they were thinking about, and certainly everybody in the panel will have comments on that. But let's talk about, so we've talked about one, let's go to multiple now. And I'd love to hear from Simone and Matthew on the end. You know, so you've already covered one, you've got sort of your roots planted in the ground. Now you're thinking, okay, one's not enough. I need to get 3, I need to get 5, I need to get 50, whatever it might be. Tell me about some of the things, if we can fast forward to that point, what was going on in your mind as you were at that stage? By the way, it's not just physical locations. I know we're talking about real estate, but things like video and beyond. I mean, in a way, a video is like setting up a shop on anyone's computer. That's also a form of space. So let's hear about that as well.
I think for me, when I came to my third studio, an interesting experiment that I did for the Brentwood market is that I started a pop-up. So rather than putting a lot of money into brick and mortar straight away, I tested the market. So for a year, I did one class every morning from 8:30 to 9:30. I rented like a Dance for Kids, a dance studio, and built my market from there. So then when I finally decided, right, Brentwood is where all the yummy mummies are with lots of money to spend, I'd already had my audience. So when I opened my studio in Brentwood, April this year, it was a success the first day we opened the doors. So I think, you know, that was one gift I'd like to share with you guys. If you're thinking about that, you know, whatever industry you're in, pop-ups are popping up everywhere, and it's a really great way to test the market and to see if you have the clientele there, so that then there is a reason for you to obviously want to open, you know, a physical space.
Excellent. And Matthew?
Sure. So, you know, when I look at this, I really try to focus on building an ecosystem and a community that I can sustain and grow over time. So for me, the key elements are I want landlords that are partners. I want landlords that are able to improve the environment that I'm in over time. I deal with a host of other issues, including fire safety, fit out, codes, commercialization, licensing in China. That's very complicated. Chinese cities don't have too many garage doors, so that's not a great option for me, although I love that. I love that theme. So I try to find high spaces that have wonderful views and vistas out over the city to create a space that lets you, that makes our students feel like they leave the city. But at the same time, I want prime real estate. Our partners and leases we're getting are from, the top mixed-use commercial developers really in the world, and certainly in Asia. So, my partners in these kind of spaces are Capital Land and Swire and Wharf and, China World. So, the biggest mixed-use developers, and we're going in next to, Stella McCartney and Cause, and spaces where you would never expect to find a fitness studio of any kind. And we're really creating a fashion, music, fitness brand together. And at the same time, we're creating a community that wants to live and work and party and socialize and eat in those spaces. So for those developers, I represent somewhere between 700 and 1,000 people a day that can come to those studios. And instead of, those developers are looking at F&B choices where they can get 3 turns from a restaurant, and they're thinking of me as being able to deliver students all throughout the day, all the way into the evening. And those are the same people that can shop and go out to high tea and, buy clothes in those spaces.
Excellent. Did anybody else have any other comments on that, or can I move to the next question? I don't want to take anyone's voice away. The other thing I want to talk about, and this sort of relates to scale, is, there's sort of an irony all around us nowadays in tech or whatever it might be, where, so for example, with Airbnb, it says, the idea, and I don't speak for them, but indirectly it said, don't go stay at a hotel, come stay at someone's house, okay? But at the same time, there's data that has to be put into that way, put in between the user and wherever they sort of end up. To some degree, Uber is the same way. Don't call the taxi company, come on our app, and let's get this data together, and let's get you a driver who's going to be friendly and maybe give you some gum or some water along the way. And in some ways, maybe I'm jaded by ClassPass a little bit, but I think, Tony, you mentioned earlier, you're trying to give a boutique feel to your users, okay? This isn't like a huge factory that they're walking in to work out. It's a very personalized feeling. So tell me, I'd like to hear a little bit about, probably from each of you, is how do you bridge data? So while you're still giving the boutique feel, how are you thinking about data and thinking about global issues, users, and that sort of thing? Let's start with Matthew and then work our way back this way.
So I think all of this has to go offline to online. You have to create this, really rich culture that people love and with wonderful teaching, but then you also have to build an online component, which, is also giving you data and information and allowing you to build the model. And I think it's it's an issue of meeting consumers where they're going to be in the future. And students really want to be able to practice online. They don't just want to practice in a studio. They travel, and lives are changing. And so, in our case, we work with lots of different partners. So we work with, Nike and Lululemon, and we create events, and we work with music streaming services. So we work with KKBox in Taiwan, which has 3 million people a month that consume music through that site, and we create playlists, and we have celebrities talk about their favorite playlists, and then they send those users, if it's old school hip hop or if it's karaoke favorites, and they'll send that through their ticketing agency to KK Tickets, and they'll come and they'll scan a QR code, and then we'll track what they're doing and who comes to those classes, and we'll build almost like a fan base, and we'll treat our studio almost as like a showroom to experience music and playlists.
So, sorry.
And Matthew's got, afterwards, if you catch up with him, he can show you his interface. He was showing it to me earlier. It's set up like an event platform. So it almost looks like you're going to a concert or you're able to pick out music and pick out different types of events. It doesn't feel necessarily like a fitness a class that you're going to, or like signing up on the worksheet at the gym for like a spot on a spin studio or a yoga mat or something like that. It's bigger than that.
So I'm fortunate, again, I have this niche as a broker in the space, but I'm fortunate to work with Integrity Square. I'm going to give you a real life example of utilizing data, and the way I see it, and certainly fitness professionals should be utilizing the data. MindBody provides a lot of data on your user, your demographic. You can really start to dig past the demographic and understand submarkets and psychographics of that demographic. And I find that there's a lot of professionals who aren't really digging deep into the data to really understand their user. And millennials clearly are very influential these days and accommodate a lot of ClassPass and whatnot. And they're changing the shape of the view of a Globo gym. They're really going to the boutique studios. How do you continue to retain the millennial? They're all ADD, crazy, running from here to there within a minute. And you got to really analyze the data. You got to use MindBody to the fullest, or whatever program it is that you utilize for CRM. You have to align yourself or hire people who understand the data, and you have to know how to sell to the data, collaborations to keep things cool and relevant. I find to be probably a visionary in this space. We'll see a lot of that in the future, and that's data.
Well, with MindBody, I was actually one of their first adapters. Blake Beltran, one of the founders, came to me with a floppy disk. You probably don't even know what that is, but that was 2001. So we were using dial-up at the time. So it's pretty amazing to see how it's grown. I'm a little jealous because we started around the same time. But with my company, I have like 5 DVDs there. You can download them. I have 2 books that I think are online too. But we're an older demographic, so we have millennials mostly through ClassPass, but our core audience is having stuff online. It doesn't really affect them. They want to be in the class with the instructor. So for me, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Just following on what Kimberly said, 50% of my time is spent in my studios, and now 50% of my time is spent online. So between BBS TV, online videos, DVDs, people still buy DVDs. I don't understand it. Who's putting a DVD? Who has a DVD player? But people do. So you have to keep current. You always have to be putting content out there, because someone's going to put something on YouTube for free. There's so many apps now that you can get for free. So I find that now a lot of my time and energy is spent building up content, to put online. But it's interesting because I still think, for me, I still love the personal one-on-one connection with my clients. And you can't, you can't sell that, one-on-one feeling over something online. So it's be really interesting to see where we go in the next couple of years. I'm in talks with a couple of companies to have me right inside your television. So it's like, hello, every morning, wake up. But then you're losing, the one-on-one. So fascinating. We are going more and more towards online, but obviously you're going to reach a much larger audience. Easier because I can't clone myself, so that's going to help. But 50% of time spent online and 50% in studio. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, my opinion, as well as online, is that I think, like Simon was saying, is that people do follow a lot of you. Like I have some of my clients, for instance, in my business go, I did this super high endurance workout online. It's actually pretty good. But they didn't get the same results. They tried to follow it. There was no breaks. Now, I think online stuff is very, very important. But again, using the model of the personalized boutique, they can't ask those questions online. They can't have that personal feeling. Maybe they've had a bad situation at work. If it's more of a lifestyle that you're catering in the boutique, which is what we do, you can't replace that. I have so many apps out there. I have a 20-20 app. You can lose 20 pounds in 20 days. It's really easy to follow. It has 2 phases, a learn it phase, a live it phase. It's simple. Now, we advertise it, people download it, but even our own existing members, and it's like pretty much so easy to follow, still want to book an appointment and have questions and want, well, what about this? What about that? But it's right there. It's online. So I think there's a lot of merit, and I think data is important if it could only be measured. Because a lot of people, I know for me, I like to go online and do a social media campaign. I'm on it all the time because I have to be, and I feel I have to keep up, which is true. It's like a rat race when you're in this business. But now I've kind of stepped back and say, look, what kind of platform do I want to build? What am I going to throw out there? What's important? What are people looking for? So if you can measure that and there's some return on investment, I think it's really important, because unfortunately we are on our smartphones every 2 to 3 minutes and looking for stuff, and that's just what I think.
Excellent. I want to get, so, you know, for the next minute or so, and we'll probably wrap up in about 6 minutes here. It's my job to keep watch on the clock, so sorry to be annoying. I want to look to the future a little bit. So we've talked about one class. We've talked about many classes. I think, Tony, you've got 16, right? Is that the right number in Canada? What's the next step? Where do you see your brand going in the next, say, 2 to 5 years? And what are some of the things you're thinking about? You know, what are things that you want to leave behind? What are things you want to take with you as you potentially go larger, or maybe not larger? You go more specific with your model, or maybe you want to downgrade even and go for more of a boutique feel. I'm curious about that. Let's start with Tony and work back out.
You got me working, eh?
Good. You're
okay.
jacked, man.
Well, I'm a big believer that it's about lifestyle. Let's face it. But the issue becomes that people want to lose weight, period. If they can swallow a magic pill and they lose 20 pounds tomorrow, people would do it, even though there was major side effects. And it was interesting because the first panel, when we had all these doctors up here, I was listening to the stuff that they were talking about, and it's cool. I like that stuff. I really do believe, but that area is for people that are kind of living and breathing that all the time. When you talk to the average person about hormone balancing, body fat, like, people have no idea. And the bottom line is people want to feel good. So at the end of the day, there's two kinds of people: the people that want to work for it, the people that need the inspiration, the motivation. What we do as fitness professionals is we try to feed that information, that motivation. So you have to keep it simple. And my majority of clients are women. So it's like, just make it simple. Don't tell me about protein and amino acids and like, what do I have to eat? A piece of chicken? Okay, I'll take the piece of chicken. It has to be simple. And the minute you start getting too technical with stuff that they have to follow and do, I mean, I'm just talking about my experiences with a lot of my members, is everybody wants it simple. So I think less is more. At the end of the day, we all know that physical fitness gets you to feel good and gets your endorphins firing and making you lose weight. And 80% is what you eat. So if you can continue to cater a business into the future that motivates and brings that simple solution and educating people, then it's a sure winner. So boutique training is, I think, the way to go. And because it is small, it is personable, and people can achieve results.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Yeah. Simone?
So when I started 5 years ago, I started basically one-on-one private training. That was my business model. 5 years later, it's now become about the class environment. And I guess with things like ClassPass, now people want to do BBS on Monday, they want to do Tony on Tuesday, they want to do Kimberly on Wednesday. No one wants to be locked into a gym membership. They don't want to have to do the same classes, stare at the same stale equipment. Yeah, so we want instant gratification. So I think we have to, as business owners, you have to keep up with the times, you have to keep moving and keep creating. So now my business model is shifting more towards more classes, studios that will pump out classes, and then, yeah, just providing a service that obviously you want to come to more than once a week after Tony.
Well, with me, it's interesting. I just launched a new teachers training program. So, I mean, we've always had training. We have great training, but I got Yoga Alliance certified, and we were the first hybrid training that they, approved. So that just started. I just finished it the last weekend, and I was offered to take the training to China. I was just in Beijing, and I'm just, at this point, I will have to look to funding to grow, because, I can't do it. So far, for the 15 years I've been in business, it's been organic growth of the company. But I get offered, like the Playa lease that I just signed, the developer came to me because they want yoga and spinning as an amenity to their buildings. And I get offered that, you know, all over the country. Everybody wants yoga and spinning. But, you know, at this point, you know, with the way the company is set up now, I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. So that would probably be my next step would be funding. Yeah.
Great.
So my vision from a real estate perspective and thinking about the industry on the macro is it's community. You know, you're building the community. I mentioned earlier the article in the New York Post that talks about how millennials view gym and fitness, and they all want to be a part of the community. CrossFit does it incredibly well. A lot of the boutiques do it incredibly well. You have to nurture the community. When I was in college, we called it, I think, partnership marketing. I think millennials like to use the word collaboration these days. So I think you got to be fresh. You have to think really outside the box. Your core business may be high-intensity dance or some type of hit or whatever it be, but thinking, how do you differentiate yourself from that person down the street? Doing a cool collaboration with some young up-and-coming companies, doing something with Sakara Life where if your members come X amount of classes, they get a reduction on a purchase from Sakara or Lulu or something that's also cool. So those are the types of collaborations that I'd like to start to see in the game. And again, being a fitness enthusiast myself, that would keep me fresh and going back because I like to do everything. And it's how do you retain the millennial mind? I'm not a millennial, but that's what's going to, you know, drive the future of fitness, in my opinion.
Take it home, Matthew.
All right. So I'd really like to change group fitness in Asia, and particularly in the Chinese culture. And I'd like it to become something that people think of it as a social decision, just like any other decision, like meeting, you know, and it defines who you are and what you say about your values and, you know, how you function as a consumer. So, you know, just as you wouldn't, you know, use you wouldn't eat a food that you thought was unhealthy or use a cosmetic or, you know, I want our studios to do as much to define that space as any wellness provider in Asia. And what I'm really trying to do is bridge between celebrities and music and fitness to create a completely different environment. So we've had over 300 different celebrities in the last year practice at our studios. We're starting to create opportunities for our teachers to be cast in TV shows and online and in social media and work with top athletes in China and Taiwan and create fitness programs and bridge a social divide that really didn't exist before in group fitness. And we're trying to redefine the group fitness space and create an environment where teachers can be recognized for their expertise and their ability to have an impact on this community and build the community, both offline and online.
Excellent. And with that, we're close to time. I think all of us will be around afterwards if you have questions. If you want to get Kimberly or Simone's autograph, maybe they'll give you that as well. But we'll be around the rest of the day. And thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.